Hello, it's Denise from Women Beyond a Certain Age. We have a fabulous guest today, and it's just turned out, as she and I were chatting before we're recording, it's like old home week. We have so many mutual friends, which is always, for me, not only fun, but I don't know, it just proves my theory of circles of life because I totally believe in that we're just completing circles of life. Now, our guest today is Barbara Weller. Hello, Barbara.
Hello, how are you, Denise?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. I want people to know, Barbara, that you were sent to us by our really a very old friend, Trina Kay, PR for cookbooks and writing and tea, all sorts of things in Los Angeles. But your company is named Broad Think. So people need to know that because you have your own company and have been a content specialist and video producer. I mean, Barbara, what haven't you done in getting in? What haven't you done?
I don't know. I have quite a misspent past. I don't know how I fell into all of these things, but luckily I've had a lot of fun and had a lot of opportunities I'm very grateful for.
I think that sounds wonderful. Um, and as it turned out, I have worked with Barbara's husband. I worked with Barbara's husband for years in television because when HGTV first came out, Weller Grossman owned that channel. I mean, they owned it. So anyway, I'm very grateful that you're here today. Um, now, here's what I wanted to talk to Barbara about. And people, you can go to her website, and you can also get on her newsletter that she creates for an author named Grace O, and it's called FoodTrients. And when I say that, I hope I'm saying it correctly. It's like food ingredients, but it's food treats because Grace O, I guess her whole, when I read about it, Barbara, and reading about you, the whole idea is really very much food as an anti-aging ingredient and eating healthy, but with delicious recipes. Am I getting that correctly?
That's totally correct. I mean, Grace has a very interesting background, and we've worked with her for, gosh, well over a decade now. And the Anti-Aging Dishes Cookbook is her third cookbook that we've done together. And it's really, she's been involved or connected to kind of that food as medicine. And
Yes.
particularly, we are focused on, I would say, probably women over 40, but I mean, I think everybody's interested in aging better and interested in learning about the properties of food that help your body instead of destroy it. And
Yes.
the American diet is so off track with processed foods and sweet, sodas, sweetened beverages. We're just really hurting ourselves when it comes to just health and aging. And I think everybody wants to live a good life. They want to be healthy for as long as we can be. And, to divert just a little bit, I was just looking at a study that was done by McKinsey that looked at women's health and research. And it really looked at how, first of all, women's diseases are so understudied, and
Yes.
most health studies are done with men. But also the last 9 years, even though women live longer, the quality of their lives, particularly those last 9 years, is not particularly good. And I think that really harks back to our diet. And I don't think it's ever too late to start eating better.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I have to tell you something, Barbara. I'm 73, but I went to chef school 40 years ago. Now, all I learned classic technique, and it was a wonderful experience. But when I looked around or had to serve the chef's table, I saw guys that drank too much brandy at 8 o'clock in the morning and knew absolutely nothing about nutrition. Okay, nothing about nutrition. So the world has changed, as you were saying, that people are more aware of it. But I remember thinking, this can't, and the stress, of course, the stress of working in kitchens, I kept thinking this can't be good for you in the long term. but to get any sort of, so here, and then as our society, more people are eating out than ever before, meal after meal after meal. So they're not getting a balanced diet, and they're not, they're eating whatever people are putting in front of them, unless they do some research, is my feeling.
Right. And while I mean, in Los Angeles, I think we have a lot of really good, very consciously served meals and
Yes.
some excellent restaurants that are healthy. But a lot of restaurant food is very, very salty. And that's not necessarily good for us either, particularly if you have high blood pressure
Yes.
or other issues. So it's important to know where that food comes from, the quality of the food you eat, and the fact that it doesn't have to be boring. And that's what I've loved about and learned so much from Grace. And she has traveled around the world and discovered, I mean, one of the fun things we do in all the cookbooks is we look at things like moringa. She's known about moringa all her life because it's a very Asian kind of spinach-like food. It's an incredible immune boosting nutrient, and we have moringa trees in California. Who knew you could eat them?
I love it. No, the cookbook, I'm looking at the anti-aging cookbook, Barbara, and you're the first person she thanks in it about helping her put it together. So I was thrilled when I read that. When I turned the pages from the very beginning, and people, all these books are probably available at Amazon.com or your local bookstore. So
Yeah.
if anything that you're, again, the author, Grace O. I loved it. I turned the page, and one of the first things in the book is 50 foods to help you live longer.
Yep.
So neat, so compact, right here. I'm thrilled. Other than anchovies, I could never warm up to them. You
Me
should have.
either. I
I
don't.
just couldn't. But everything else, I thought, oh my God, this is what we're eating almost every day at my house. Because
Good.
as I've gotten older, what typical of what happens when I worked, and you know this, Barbara, Cindie and I were on TV or movie sets for 5 days in a row. The craft service, though, it's certainly in the last few years, those poor craft service people tried, but the crews that we worked with were looking for beef and potatoes and donuts
And
and
M&M.
candy and and, and Pringles. And
Yeah.
once in a while, Cindie and I would say to each other, oh, this craft service person has some string cheese or, fresh apples or a bowl full of fruit. And we would go and we'd hoard it, but we didn't have to because nobody else was eating it. It was only we were the ones that were eating it. So
I know. I think we're so used to
yes,
the convenience, and particularly when you're on set and doing production, people are in a hurry. They don't have time. I think it was the same case when, young mothers with babies, they barely have time to eat. So a lot of times they're grabbing something like a donut or something that's easy and quick instead of really being able to eat more of the nutrition they need.
when I retired about 5 years ago, my husband and I both retired, Barbara, and we moved to Ventura. We got out of West
Ah,
LA. Oh yeah, we love it. Love it, love it, love it.
it's
Sold,
beautiful.
it's beautiful. Sold both our homes and moved here. And what happened, Barbara, is it, and then COVID hit. But what really happened is I had time to cook for us. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't
Yeah.
developing recipes for a brand or doing infomercials or doing TV shows. I literally turned around and thought, oh my God, I can cook dinner. Do you know what I mean? Because we ate out a lot or got takeout a lot because I'd already worked for 14 hours that day and I didn't come home and say, oh, let me cook some more. And you know what?
Yeah.
Our diets have changed. My husband lost 10 pounds right away. I've lost about 29 pounds since I
Wow.
retired. Barbara,
Good
but
for
it's
you.
it's all because exercise a little more conscious step taking and more conscious, some stretch classes and light weights for, as I age. But I'll tell you, when you cook real food at home and you're not buying what you said, either the salt or sugar laden takeout food, your palate changes for one thing, but also it's not that hard to eat healthier because you just buy healthy food.
Yeah. And I mean, Rob and I eat mostly at home for all kinds of reasons, but a lot of it is that we like what we make better.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
years, we subscribed to a company called Green Chef when they started for meal delivery, which
Yeah.
was great because Rob actually ends up doing more cooking than I do because I work later. And anyway, what's great about what I liked about it was that most of their food was organic. They've evolved over time, and I think they were bought by another company. Their food is still good, but I loved what we learned with the mixes of spices. Grace does the same thing. We have a lot of spice mixes on the website that add flavor, but also add really important nutrients, whether it's anti-inflammatory or just things that actually are just going to make you healthier and your food tastes better.
It's so interesting to me. It's so interesting to me, Barbara, that my grandmother, who was not a good cook, but her mother, my great grandmother, they knew this stuff. Do you know what I mean? And my mother knew this stuff because as a child, my mother only gave us like whole wheat toast, whole wheat bread and fresh fruit. And we would have very lean leg of lamb sandwiches, stuff like that. Now, there was no trading value on the playground, okay, Barbara?
Right.
When somebody saw our lunch and everybody else was getting Twinkies and potato chips and white bread, I would say to my mother, could we ever have some of that good food? And she'd say no, because she used to say, I'm not paying the dentist when we can prevent having problems with your teeth. So I look back, we just, as convenience came in, and I also think as women went to work,
Yep.
which was, we just lost some of this, the good sense not to drink sodas. Do you know, I had a friend that just stopped drinking soda. She lost 10 pounds in a month.
I
Now,
believe it.
I said, how many sodas were you drinking?
How many was she drinking?
She said she sometimes drank 6 to 10 a day.
Oh my
Now,
God.
I didn't know how to tell her that she should have a calcium scan or because chances are all the nutrients have been leached out of her bones, but
Boy.
she'll find that out next. You know what I mean? That it's so.
Yeah. Oh God.
Ugh. Now, I need you to talk about Barbara. First of all, I love the newsletter, the Food Nutrients newsletter, because the one that I got that had about simply, we've been talking to other people gearing up for the holidays, saying to our cookbook authors and our experts, what can people do you know what I mean, to make beautiful healthy food and not go crazy with bad choices during the holidays? And as I was thinking that, in came this delicious bulgur wheat and apple
Apple barley salad. Yes.
yes, that looks absolutely delicious. And when I looked at it and then I started to talk to you, I thought that would be the most perfect fall, Thanksgiving, all the way to Christmas.
It is. Well, apples, I love apples. I love all kinds of apples. But they're so good for you. They have quercetin, they have, lots of good qualities, and they have a lot of fiber. But, I don't know if you've noticed too, and I'll try not to digress too much, but there's a lot of information about senolytic supplements right now that are supposedly helping your mitochondria. Well, one of the things that's in apples, quercetin, that's part of autophagy is what in the body with quercetin and other things too, curcumin, soybeans, there are all kinds of foods that actually help repair cells. And there's zombie cells in our body. And that when those zombie cells start taking over, that's how we get sick. We get inflammation, we get cancer, we get all kinds of things. So I say eat as many apples as you can and put them in the food you can. We have lots of good recipes on the website. All the recipes on foodtrients.com really are healthy recipes. So if you're looking for appetizers, you're looking for desserts, you can't lose if you go to the recipe section. And with each recipe, I don't know if you noticed, we have these little icons because in FoodTrients, we look at 9 different benefits that anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, detox, beauty, things that are good for your skin, and aging, so that we go through 9 different ones, but each one has a symbol, and every recipe in the recipe section has those symbols. So at a glance, you can see, is this an anti-inflammatory recipe, or what are the main benefits of that particular recipe?
It's incredible. So much work, Barbara, so much work and so much research. And I love when you're saying this, because I love that you've learned a lot by working on these books. Do you know what I mean? And that's the part to me that was always fun, whether it was a TV show. And of course, lots of times, Cindie and I worked on a lot of TV shows for every channel, Lifetime, ABC, Home Garden, Food Network. And the funnest part to me was doing the research. Because lots of times, and it's like you saying Grace O was busy, the talent was, I used to say, when some of them would feel badly, but they didn't feel that badly, when they'd say, all these ideas were yours, Denise, I'd say they were. But it's because they're out there selling. Do you know what I mean? They're selling the brand, and they need support with the plain old segment ideas. Do you know what I mean? Because there's just...
Well, it's important too. I mean, one of the things that I think, Grace has done, and she does it right. We have a nutritionist who vets all the recipes in the cookbooks. All the recipes in the recipe section of the website are vetted by a nutritionist, because we don't want to make claims that aren't true.
That's right.
We want to be careful what we tell people, and we don't take paid advertising. We do not sell links, or we just haven't done that. If our stories, we have a Dr. Rosenberg, who's an anti-aging specialist and a cancer doctor, who contributes articles to the website. So we really want to be careful about the information we're putting out there, and make sure that people understand we're not doing it because we get paid to do that. We're doing it because Grace is really committed to helping people learn more about the benefit of good food. The other thing she's done, and I just want to mention this quickly.
Please.
We've been working with Cedars-Sinai. She has underwritten 2 studies so far. We hope to be doing 2 more on food as medicine, basically. One is on the incidence of prostate cancer in Black men, which is higher than normal population. So they're looking at food and lifestyle and how that can affect, or decrease the incidence of prostate cancer. And that's certainly in older men. And for women, this is a study I'm particularly interested in. We're looking at the effects that the side effects, basically, of chemo and radiation on breast cancer patients, and how diet and lifestyle can help mitigate or, prevent those side effects from being damaging or more damaging.
How important. How incredibly important.
Yeah. So I love it that Grace is not only, trying to help educate people about food, but she's also, putting her money where her mouth is and underwriting studies. And we really want to do more and looking at, memory issues and all kinds of things that are out there.
I think how important and how great, Barbara, I think it's interesting. And you were talking about that Rob does a lot of the cooking and that you eat at home more. My husband and I are the same way. We go out like once a week to our favorite pub and have a cold beer and order something that I wouldn't be fixing at home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because otherwise, and I do that because as the dishwasher, I'm tired of cooking and I would like to go out.
It's nice to get out.
It's nice to get out. But the bottom line is I was planning a a brunch for some friends that's coming up. And I see in my own self, it has nothing to, it's what I read. It has to do with my own health. But when I think of what I used to serve, do you know what I mean? When I entertained, compared to what I plan menus now, the information, our healthy food information is getting out there because I thought, oh, I'll have some blueberries and raspberries and put them in a pretty little cup, you know what I mean, to start when they first get there. And I thought people could eat that walking around. Do you know what I mean? At the coffee bar, they don't have to sit down at the table yet. And I thought, oh, I could put some whipped cream on top. And then I thought, nah, it doesn't need any whipped cream. Do you know what I mean? And I thought that's the difference from what I would have done 10 years ago. I would have put whipped cream on that 10 years ago. And now I just think, don't need it because I was planning the whole menu because I was going to serve hollandaise sauce. And I figured that had kind of sucked up all the fat calories that we could have.
You got to pick your poisons.
That's right.
Although I do love whipped cream, I hate to say it, but
I know. Who doesn't?
So good.
Barbara, if you said you didn't, I wouldn't like you. Okay. I don't trust people. I mean, it's like we used to say in school, you can never trust a skinny chef, but I don't trust people that don't think about food a lot. Do you know what I mean? I know that, I've just come to terms with it. I'm Italian. My father's family was around us all the time. And when we finished, and my sister still, we do it when we travel together, we finish one meal. And as we're pushing away from the table, we say, where do you think we should go to lunch? So
I love that. And I think, food is so important in our lives for so many reasons, whether it's social or, and making food is really fun, and putting it together and having people over, and these holidays, there are things that taste so good that people aren't going to think you're skimping on anything.
That's right.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about, in fact, our nutritionist, Ginger Holton, there's an article on the website about the naughty and nice foods. And the nice foods do include pumpkin pie, cranberries, a lot of the things we love for Thanksgiving. The not so nice foods, the naughty foods, might include pecan pie because it's so much sugar.
Yes.
And whipped cream probably, but and sweetened coffees and drinks. Just there are things you can do during the holidays. Like when you go to a party, Dr. Rosenberg, I think, has 15 tips for helping yourself stay a little healthier during the holidays. And one is that you eat a little bit before you go to a party, so you're not starving when you go to a party. Maybe eat some nuts or something that's good and filling, and that so you do small tastes of things at the party, and don't drink too much. Maybe a glass of wine or light beer or something, but just really watch what you're doing and try to talk more to people than eat, so that you make it more of a social event. So there are lots of.
Those are great tips. I agree with that. And many times when I'm going to a big event and it's going to be noshing, you're just going to walk around and, and they're little bites of food. I just found, so that I wouldn't all of a sudden get so hungry and I was eating the wrong food, Barbara, that I sometimes I make like a very nice turkey sandwich and eat half of it. My husband eats the other half before we go to a party. And that way, then we're not hungry. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah. And you're not tempted to eat things that are easy and sweet, and, or if you go to a party and they have a vegetable tray, focus on those things.
That's right.
Or shrimp or something that's a little healthier, hummus. Yes. Those are good things to eat.
Looking for the protein. I always say to my husband,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just say to him, we're looking for the protein. And now, as we get the plate, we eat, I would say, half as much protein as we were eating. Barbara, we still eat steak, we still eat chicken, we still eat fish, but I'm now buying what I used to consider one portion, but I'm dividing it in two. so that that other part of the plate is filled with green beans or mushrooms or a little something. And he always says the same thing. He goes, I guess there's no more steak in the kitchen. I go, no, but there's more green beans. And he says, oh, but you can train yourself. Pretty soon you don't notice it.
Yeah.
You eat 2 or 3 ounces of the chicken or the beef. It's plenty.
It is, and I think that's another thing, that red meat, even though I think if you are, I mean, I love steaks,
Yeah.
but we don't eat them very often. And when we do, or if I have a hamburger, it's going to be grass-fed meat. It's going to
Yes.
be, I'm going to try to at least get the quality of meat that I want. But,
Absolutely.
I was just reading something that's so interesting, and I did not know this, that there are studies that look at when you're younger, everybody thinks you should have lots of protein, and protein is really important for so many reasons. It doesn't all have to be meat protein
Right.
either. There's a lot of plant protein, but they said that younger people under 65, they shouldn't be eating tons of protein. Probably 45 grams of protein or less is better for them. They are more likely to live longer if they eat a little less protein there. And then people who are 65, it starts reversing. We
Yeah.
should be eating more protein when you're over 65, up to 90 grams of protein a day. It doesn't mean red meat protein, but
No.
just sure you're getting a lot of protein, because it helps heal wounds. It actually helps preserve your muscles. And
Yes.
that's what we're losing as we age, is our muscle tone, and that we don't want, because we need to be able to get up off the floor
That's
and
right. I was
all of those things.
just reading that yesterday
Really?
about muscle mass and protein, or muscle loss, I should say. And then the same thing, it's just making changes. I've been making a whole lot of bean soups. So
Good.
it's homemade chicken broth and a whole lot of beans and vegetables and tomatoes. I love chopped tomatoes and anything, and herbs from my garden. And my husband says to me, so I guess this is it. I go, that's it. And
Well, and it's so good
I know.
though.
And he loves it. And he was the one. I made a white bean soup last week, plain old bag
Yeah.
of cheap
Yeah.
white beans. I didn't even have any fancy Rancho Gordo or from Steve's. I just had cheap white beans, but I did have homemade chicken broth, and it was so delicious. And
Right.
he ate it for 3 days in a row. But the beans are a big. See, I can't eat soy. I have negative reactions to soy, so I have to stay away from tofu. But I'm big on beans.
Do you like tempeh?
I do.
Just
I
the
buy tempeh
fermented.
sometimes.
I,
Yeah.
I prefer that to the tofu. I
Yeah,
like tempeh. It has more flavor, and it's
it
fermented.
does.
It's probably a little better for you anyway.
Yeah. Yes,
So
I've warmed up tempeh and put it in a wheat tortilla and with some salsa on it and made tacos with it. It's pretty tasty.
that's good.
Yeah. So tell me this. Tell us again the name of the website
It's
for.
foodtrients.com. Just think
Okay.
nutrients, but with food.
Yes.
Foodtrients.com.
Yes.
Oh, and if you sign up for the newsletter now, any new subscribers, actually, we created a special booklet that does have the 50 foods for longevity, and it has about 20 recipes, and we have some menus, and you get that free when you sign up for the newsletter. So we hope you will.
That's a lot.
And
That's a lot, Barbara.
we don't bombard you with emails. We send 4 a week. And usually they're pretty short, but they'll kind of tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, and one of the other things I was going to mention too is
Please.
that one of the things that I just was, in fact, we're reviewing a book called Reversing Alzheimer's. And it's written by a woman who's in San Diego, a doctor. I've got the book here. Sorry. I'll just show it to you. Reversing Alzheimer's. It's by Heather Sandison. And Dr. Hyman did a great interview with her about how she has done more to reverse memory loss than just about anybody out there.
Wow.
Because, and it's not just her, there are other studies going on with different diet and, but they do a lot of testing. They test for mercury, they test for, heavy metals. They do these pretty extensive blood tests before they diagnose people. But she did a study with 25 people. They gave them, I think it's a Canadian memory test. There are 30 questions. And so they took 25 people who scored less than 26. You need to score 26 or above. If you score less than that, then something is going on memory-wise. It could be B12 deficiency. It could be many things. So what they did for 6 months is they put these folks, they did exercise, they did all the blood tests to kind of see what they could learn about what was going on, and probably some supplements depending on what they needed. But they put them on a Mediterranean diet,
Yes.
which for 6 months. And it's not that, I think the Mediterranean diet is sort of coming down to being one of the best, healthiest diets we could go for these days. But they had, I think 70 some percent, and don't quote me on these percentages because I'm not sure I've got them exactly, but it's a pretty high percentage of the people in the study, and it was a small study, improved. Their memory improved. One woman was able to go back to run her restaurant.
Wow.
She couldn't do it. So, and then there are others. I think the Cleveland Clinic has done a variation. Some people have tried vegetarian diets. Some people have tried other diets with people with memory issues. And they're really finding that some of, this food and lifestyle piece of it is pretty critical. And, that they've had more success than any drug. And there's just some piece on the news about Namenda, and I don't know what the other memory drugs are, but I would not be taking them or let anyone I know take them, because they're now thinking that they're speeding up memory loss. They're not helping. My mother was on one of them, and I don't remember what, and I've had a friend who had dementia as well, and they didn't do anything to help them. It's more for the doctor to be able to say, here, let me give you something.
Thank you. Thank you.
So anyway, and that's the other thing, is that doctors really don't get nutrition training.
No.
So it's really a responsibility of all of us to learn more about what our bodies need. Everybody's not the same. And I do think that as we move into this world of AI, personalized medicine may become a much bigger thing than it is today. And it'll help. What you need for your issues and ailments and health is probably very different than what I need.
Yes.
So, but right now it's one size fits all.
Yes. I think that book it was called Reversing Alzheimer's.
Reversing Alzheimer's, the new toolkit to improve cognition and protect brain health.
How wonderful.
I want to go meet this woman. I would actually like to San Diego and meet her. And I'd like to see if Grace could, if we could do something with her in terms of a study. But she's actually I don't think it's in San Diego though. I think it's in Kansas City. She has 2 or 3 facilities now where people are living there, because that was one way to control the study.
Right.
Because they knew everything they ate, they knew everything they did. But they are now, with the purpose of people not being there permanently, they are trying to set up these homes where people could live and go through this program, and then hopefully go back to their lives, at least on some higher level.
That sounds incredible.
I know.
That sounds incredible. Really exciting. Barbara, I cannot thank you enough for your time today. And I'm so glad we got to connect. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that Trina connected us. And I'm so grateful. I can't believe your husband would actually remember who I am, because he only had 10,000 people that worked on his cruise. But that's very kind. That's very kind.
And well, I'm glad, and it is a small world
It is
sometimes.
such
It
a
really
small
is.
world. Well, everybody got your information when we broadcast. So, Barbara, Cindie puts um, the website on right there. And when people listen, they can reach out. So we'll get the information from you, and hopefully
Great.
they'll get the free workbook, or the free little thing about 50 foods to help you live longer is a deal. That's a deal.
It's a great deal, and recipes. And if you would like, and Cindie, and you can tell me if you would like me to send you links to some of the holiday
Oh,
tips and
yes.
holiday and recipes, I can send you an email with the links to those stories if that would help your listeners.
That would be fabulous. Are you kidding? Thank you. Well,
Well,
Barbara, I thank you so much for today. Cindie, always, I have to thank Cindie because she keeps the train on the track, because otherwise it isn't pretty. And I appreciate all the information and work that Grace O is doing, because it's so valuable. It's so important. Yeah, I would like to live. I, I don't. I'm a firm believer, and I just want to live every day the best I can, Barbara. So when it's over, it's over. But do you know what I mean?
right.
I want to. That's where we started, and you talking about women live longer, but it's not always better. I don't want that. Do you know what I mean?
Either.
I want to feel good, and then if I drop, I drop.
Well, I know ideally we should all just go to sleep one night and not wake up,
Thank
and
you.
not suffer for years.
Well, thanks again. Thanks, Cindie, and thanks to everyone that listens. We love comments and messages. It's easiest to reach us right on our Facebook page, Women Beyond a Certain Age, on Facebook. And if you want to private message me, because sometimes people are shy and don't want to, other people to know, and I certainly understand that. Um, we thank you for all your comments. And it's womenbeyond@icloud.com. And that's it. Barbara, I feel inspired after talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you again, I hope. Bye.